Hi.
Hi, here we are. Oh, and we kind of got the surfboard behind you.
Beautiful.
There's a surfboard.
We are at home
We
yoga.
are at home yoga in Costa Mesa, technically, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
1812 Monrovia.
Yeah.
West side Costa Mesa.
see
the
there.
Hatton side of Costa Mesa.
Yeah, it totally is, right? Because there's all these surf companies and music shows and hip
Right.
places. Yep, yep.
That's all on the west side.
Yep. All right, so we tagged you. Good. And we're here to talk with, John is one of these people that I call one of my teachers because he was one of my first yoga teachers that I did my first year-long teacher training with and got to help you.
Can you imagine in those days, we actually talked about a year?
Right.
Everybody, we've all dropped that down. No one does that anymore. Now it's just the 200 hours.
Right.
In those days, we were a little bit more thorough, or we just actually there was more of an apprenticeship. Everybody the teacher training was not done on the weekends as much as was done coming to class and participating on multiple levels. That was a good teacher training program.
Yeah, that was kind of the start of the fire of the yoga expansion, right? There's been so much expansion and so many more teachers put onto the planet at this time. But yeah, John's really one of the, I want to say senior just because in your knowing and your learning, not because of your age, because I don't think of you as old. But John's someone who's been teaching yoga for 40 years.
30.
30 years, okay.
What's interesting, just to let you know, when I started, people were not using yoga mats yet. They hadn't really been released. People were doing yoga on basically hardwood or mostly carpeted rooms in people's houses was the way, my first yoga was in people's houses.
Yeah.
The Kundalini, even Sivananda, things have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, and after you've trained all these teachers and taught all these people and written a couple books.
Right.
You put out a really beautiful, comprehensive book
A
about
yoga
really,
pill
right?
for every ill, therapeutic hatha yoga.
Yeah, which is just starting to get released more, and people are starting to get excited about it, and so we'll make sure people can find that after this broadcast too. But yeah, so we're really fortunate that John is still showing up and sharing now his experience of yoga.
I like that. So, in showing up, what I really would like to show up with is the evolution of yoga. And when I think about the evolution of yoga, I'm really thinking about way back to the turn of the 20th century, in the early 1900s in Sri Aurobindo. And yoga has been, in many ways, a practice of renunciation. And it really comes from almost global thought, in which we separated solid matter with empty space, and that we had the distinction between the observer and the observed. And we also had notions of superiority. Let's not forget that in all of the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and even yoga, women were not part of the leadership. Women were second-class citizens. Certainly not a universal interbeing sort of sense.
Yeah, right?
Right. Not only that, humanity was separate from nature. Nature was ours to use, ours to dominate. It was a soulless thing. Also remember that all the spiritual traditions, it was only humanity that's having a consciousness, a soul. There was no interbeingness with animals or plants. But when you think about the Native Americans and other indigenous peoples around the world, Not only was there a concept of a soul or a being in living things, the river would be a living thing. The mountain. And that truly, ultimately, universal interbeingness is to realize that it's an ancient belief and a quantum physics belief that consciousness is primary and matter is secondary. That is to say, you are not so much a physical body having a spiritual experience as a spark of spiritual consciousness that has grown a body to have a physical experience. And so we come to the story of interbeing. This is a new story. We've been told for really 2,000 years that things are separate. And it's a world of other. I'm separated from you, separated from those others over there. When the concept of we are one was really been washed out, we don't, when we go to yoga class, we might say that, but we tend to be like industrial modern thought. Everybody's at their desk, everybody at their station, everybody on their mat, as opposed to like an inseparable space between us that connects us. And that the story of interbeing has to be, or universal interbeing yoga really has to do with we are sharing the same breath, same atoms, same language. The yoga community wants to believe, or has been led to believe, that through renouncing women, alcohol, sex, even nature, that I can find spirituality inside. And so there is no attempt to connect the outer and the inner. Patanjali really says that the observer is separate from the observed, so don't worry about all that you observe out there. Just stay in the observer. But this denies our interdependence. As Satish Kumar would say, you are, therefore I am. The earth is, therefore I am. The worms are, therefore I am. So the health of the earth, the health of the worms is absolutely inseparable from my health and well-being. And as Sri Aurobindo would go on to say, enlightenment that does not change my world, my relationships, leaves a stale taste in my mouth. I think that Charles Eisenstein, he has it right when he says you can be very mindful. You can pull yourself back. And you can have huge holes in your practice. Giant traumas are never addressed. You're renouncing yourself from the world, but you are still hollow on the inside. The moment we actually embrace the world, the moment we look for social responsibility with our own personal responsibility, the moment we actually say, wow, you are, therefore I am. At that point, I want to be involved in life. Involved in life. How's my air? How's the water? How are my relations? How is the society that I live in? And so that maybe that the path to enlightenment is not one of a separated sovereign individual, but is to realize that we are universal interbeings and that we are woven into the web of life. That biosphere empathy is critical. We are woven into society, that the global coherent field of planet Earth is critical to our enlightenment, and that our enlightenment is not separate from these things. And so I think that's important.
Gosh, yeah. Complete shift of what our yoga can be about.
It's a complete shift of belief from separation.
Yeah.
We believe the world is made up of separate things, separate people, sovereign nations, sovereign individuals, that you have to take personal responsibility for yourself, but you do not need to take any social responsibility because you are not them. You do not need to feel empathy for them because you are not them. And so what is the real core? And this, of course, leads to, what does it lead to? Fear, leads to violence, really.
Yeah.
Loneliness. Oh, a whole host of maladies. So I think the important question sometimes is to ask ourselves, what is it like to be you? Many need to ask, what is it like to be a woman? That would be true universal interbeing. And in some respects, I think that's maybe the most important question we could ask ourselves, gentlemen. Can we put ourselves in someone else's shoes instead of judging them from afar? Instead of being aloof from afar.
Yeah.
And so that our yoga would be to connect to the spirit. But what is the spirit? The spirit is the evolutionary impulse towards greater complexity, connectivity, coherence, consciousness, love. The quantum physicists say that quarks are allured to one another, that water molecules are attracted to one another. The universe has evolved, geology was not there in the beginning. What? Yeah, there was no geology in the beginning. Sort of like in that split second before, after the Big Bang, you might have had principles of mathematics, and then you might have come up with like a hydrogen atom and a helium atom, and all of a sudden you had stars. But the iron in your blood, you know how that was created? The iron is in every one of your little blood cells that takes the oxygen around through you. That was created when galaxies collided and created, and supernovas exploded. You are actually the stardust of galaxies that exploded billions of years ago. The story of interbeing. The yoga of interbeing. The yoga community has come up with a new word. It's not a new word. It's a Greek word called. The Greeks were really good on love, by the way. They had a lot more to say about love than we do. We have sort of this romantic love, eros love, like it has to be all about, like love is primarily about sex and procreation. The Greeks would say, well, that's nice. That's 1/6 of it. Well, what's the rest of it? Oh, well, you could have parental love, self-love, but then more complicated ones like, agape love, unconditional love for all, or deep friendship love. Ooh, these are other types of love. But there's the eudaimonia. And eudaimonia is the some would translate it as the flourishing of humanity, or the source of happiness, and that all of a sudden we realize that we heal better when we heal together. In my book, I say, everyone's personally responsible to heal themselves, yet no one can do it alone. Say that again. Everyone has to heal themselves, yet no one can do it alone.
Wow.
What's the problem with that? Well, what's so interesting about that is your concept of self. You are not a skin-encapsulated ego. They would like to tell you you are in psychology. You're a psychological bubble. You're not a genetically programmed flesh robot designed for maximum self-interest. That's nice, but that's a cold, mechanical way of looking at it. When we see ourselves as sparks of the same cosmic flame, that we are waves on the same ocean of consciousness, then we cannot be so different from one another. Matter of fact, we are made up of this same stuff. You are, therefore I am. Or as my son would like to say, you can go around and say to people, shake their hand and say, it's a pleasure to meet myself.
Does he really do that?
We do it all the time.
I love it. Wow.
They did a thing at Love Circle, and I think these programs would be designed like this. That the new yoga of the future really would be something along these lines.
All right.
I see your beauty. You have to say it to me.
I see your beauty.
I feel your feelings.
I feel your feelings.
My wisdom comes from a higher source.
My wisdom comes from my higher source.
I honor that source in you.
I honor that source in you.
Let us work together.
Let us work together.
I need you.
I need you.
I need you to be the best you can be.
I need you to be the best you can be.
We got this.
We got this.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's be about this.
Let's be about this.
Give me a high five.
There's the yoga.
The yoga. The universal interbeing. Now, we could bring that back to what we can think of as yoga, and that would be conscious breathing and posture. The yoga tradition really is really clear on this, especially the tantrics, who left the sort of the duality of separation, of denial of women, of nature. They said, oh, God is everywhere. That's in your relationships with women and nature. How can you possibly make something so profane? We come to the breath. Yes, you feel it right out the breath. So we have this duality of separation. You and me, matter and empty space. When we mix those together, we have inhalations and exhalations. So we have the yin and the yang. So really what we're looking to do is interbeing, is get these yin and yang woven together. Of course, the drawing itself implies that, and you see that. You see that the paisley shape sort of tails off into the other one, and there's even like a little dot in each and the other. So that's a visual attempt to explain what some sort of interbeing might be like in the breath, though. And this is really for the yoga people and the Ajapa mantra, the unspoken mantra. Remember, the word universe literally means one verse, one song. In the yoga community, the verse would be the yoga tradition. As we inhale, we are inhaling, I am that. As we exhale, that am I. We inhale and feel uplifted. Exhale and feel grounded. Inhale, opening the front of the body. Exhale, lightly closing the front of the body. Inhaling moonlight. Exhaling sunlight. And so, each breath could be translated a little bit more deeply along those lines. I like the word that. That's the word that's constantly used. And what is God? God is that. Well, whatever it is that you're thinking of. Because God is everywhere and everything. A curtain. Oh, that's God. Oh, the carpet. Oh, that's God. That light. That's God. You? Oh, you're God. Inhaling, I am that. Whatever your consciousness falls on. Exhaling, that am I. Inhaling, I am what thou art. Exhaling, thou art what I am. Inhaling, you I be. Exhaling, I be you. This way we can start to create biosphere empathy and global coherence. And this way we can practice seeing, stop judging others. Even the key is understanding. Part of the reason why we're the Buddha shared with Thich Nhat Hanh, yes. the Zen Buddhist, was very inspired by the term interbeing, some associated with him. And he tells this one of his stories of well, first of all, love. Like, Western culture would say money makes the world go round. That's a materialist sort of view of the world. And really, I think that people on the spiritual side would all agree that it's love that makes the world go round. But I said go further. Well, they would go further and then say that love is the ground of all being. I'm talking about atoms, galaxy, and life. The quark, this is what the quantum physicists say, the quarks, they're allured. They're allured. I love that word, allured. And water molecules are attracted. And so this reminds me of Einstein. And Einstein asked this question. He said, the most important, not a question, statement, the most important question you will ask yourself in your life is whether you believe the universe is a friendly or unfriendly place. The moment you believe it's an unfriendly place, you believe in separation. You believe in competition. You are subject to fear and violence. Then you start to base your understanding of the world with force to control, unfriendlies, a force to manipulate the world. And I think that if we go to the other side, if we see the world as friendly, well, then we start to see that we are not in competition with one another. We can see ourselves as woven together so much better. And it makes sense with the language of the quantum physicists when they say they're allured to one another. Because alluring and attractive friendship is what love is in many ways. Okay, I gotta stop talking.
That was pretty
I did say one thing about
full and important.
Full and important. the Buddhist Thich Nhat Hanh, he would say that understanding is the key step to loving. So when you ask yourself about people and how could that person do that? I like to say, you're lacking imagination. So a hard one. Think about it.
So it's just a matter of better imagination.
Yeah.
Is your imagination better to understand?
To understand what it's like to be you.
Right.
What are your needs?
Yeah.
What was your struggle? What was your day?
Yeah.
Or you're behaving this way because your boss just fired you? Oh, I understand. All of a sudden now I can even love you, as opposed to feeling like you just cut me off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. World peace, person to person, right?
So this love is not an eros love. This love that we start to feel, this understanding towards people, is not so much to procreate. We have enough people on the planet Earth. We do.
Right.
We have a finite number of supply.
Yeah.
So I think some of this universal interbeing is not about loving you to procreate with you. It's loving you to co-create with you.
Yes. Yeah.
This makes it so much better, doesn't it? Actually, men and women could be friends. You know how they say that men and women can't be friends?
Yeah.
Because they have to, like, there's
Right.
always a sexual component.
Right, right.
It's a limited understanding of love.
Yeah.
And it's like, That's what you can't handle anymore.
No, it might be a good dose for today. But I know we also wanted to just touch on the fact that you are doing some live things here.
Oh, God, yes.
Towards the end of we're just closing up here because
Yes. So,
if you happen to be,
March
OC accessible, whether you could drive to town, which is totally worth it, whether you're in San
you can
Diego,
take a private jet, too.
LA, Temecula, right, all those areas, or even fly in, because John is worth that. Home Yoga here is lucky enough to have John doing 2 workshops here this month, live in their really pretty studio in there, right?
We're doing
so will you
strap
tell
yoga.
us what you're up to? Yeah, and John wrote a book how many years ago? Wrote the book on strap yoga. Such a beautiful book. And okay, so you're going to bring out and you share some of the things that we all don't know about strap yoga. I can only imagine what you're up to now with strap.
I think that a friend of mine says, the quantum physicist says that we're entangled. This concept of separateness is just baloney.
Right. It's so the opposite, right?
So the strap helps you entangle your hands.
Okay. Yeah.
And you get a sense of a unified movement and direction between left and right, between masculine and feminine, between in and out.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a nice element.
So there's so much to it, and it really can improve your form with a lot. I mean, your experience of a lot of even poses people have done before, right?
Absolutely. The strap yoga is very helpful. Taking a typical Iyengar prop, but using it in a movement and breath scenario so that we're able to stabilize and isolate parts of the body so that we can facilitate an opening.
Yeah.
And that's on Saturday, March 9th, and on Saturday, March 23rd, we're doing blockhead yoga, which is the blockhead helps support you into postures so that you can release blocks. And at the same time, I think that the block helps you also ground down as well.
I get it. So the word play, you're actually going to use yoga blocks, but you're also actually referring to the fact that you're releasing blocks with the use of the things you can do with the blocks. Oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah. Which I'm so glad that you're willing to share what you've learned, how to use some of these props in so many beautiful ways, right? And then
101 ways.
The deeper aspects too of what it can bring. Yeah, that makes sense.
Supportive, restorative stuff is really helpful.
It's like you're kind of passing the torch of wisdom. Well, that is something a lot of teachers would want to know about too, I would think. Right?
To be honest, all I really want to teach
just
is
anybody
teachers.
who wants to learn more, about really how to be refined. And any time with John is an absolute gift. So you're lucky to be in the room live with him here at Home Yoga. So we'll make sure that I'll put the information on the video so that they can find how to sign up and how to find you on Facebook. I know you're not a big social media person, but you are doing some there, and
I
hopefully
do.
more
I
and
do.
more. If
No.
I have anything to say about it.
Well, yeah, I think
Right.
that, yeah.
Yes, yes. So thank you all so much for being here, and thank you, John. Anything you want to say at the end here?
We are here to evolve love. In order to be the change we want to see in the world, we have to see ourselves not as skin encapsulated egos, as psychological bubbles, but that we are really cosmic sparks of creativity, love, and wisdom. That we are here to share our gifts. We are here to evolve love for greater connectivity, coherence, consciousness. Not just for yourself as an individual, but see, there's no such thing as yourself as a separate individual. You are woven into your relations. You're dependent upon each breath. When we start to tune in to this biosphere empathy, to this global coherence for humanity, we will be able to evolve a love that co-creates a more peaceful, healthy planet. Namaste.
Namaste.